Hello, everybody. This is T-shirts for my business.com. Coach Etch here. Let's see, 1-844-7. 844 is a toll-free number, which reminds me of a pattern interrupt. 844-744-7878. 844-744-7878. Speaking of a pattern interrupt, so there's a friend of mine and his wife. He's in law enforcement, and they just moved from this part of the world, and they moved down to the South, basically for retirement, starting a new career. He's a lifelong career military, then became law enforcement, homeland security type, and now he's going to retire. Bought a great place, a 100-year-old house, mansion looking, but got it for less than $150,000 in a place where I used to coach a player from, actually, a place in the South, and a very famous former NFL player and head coach is from there. That's all I'm going to say for now. But anyway, it's amazing how I tried to get a hold of him. So I just missed him. I tried to call him, wish him luck, and so on and so forth, and I just missed him. I found out from another person in law enforcement that we both mutually know that he had left the morning before they had left. Anyway, you take certain things for granted. So when I was growing up, if you wanted, for the bulk of my time growing up, if you wanted information, you'd dial 411. So that's why a lot of times in music and rap music and songs and so forth, you'll hear the term 411. That was information. Everybody knew you dialed 411 and you got information in the area that you were calling. So if you were from the 310 area code or the 604 area code or whatever, you would pick up the phone and you'd dial 411 and it would give you to an operator and you'd ask for someone's phone number. If you wanted that phone number from outside of that area code, you would dial the area code and then you'd dial 555-1212. So the equivalent would be, if it was the 310 area code, if you wanted a number from somebody in a different area code, let's say the area code was 321, you would dial 321-555-1212. And it would connect you with their information. Now, usually there's a charge associated with that near the end of that whole system, which is now probably about 15, 20 years ago. So anyway, I tried on the WWE email, I tried for about an hour yesterday to try to find out what his new phone number would be, because I figured by now he's there. I was able to determine who he bought the house from. I saw the same picture on the internet of the picture he showed me of the house he had closed on and purchased. This was in the making, in the planning for the better part of the last year. And sure enough, I found the exact same picture of the house. I found the street address, everything, zip code. I even found the telephone number of the previous owner. But when I dialed it, it's been disconnected. It's a landline number. And I couldn't for the life of me find the phone number. Now, that presumes he even has a new phone number yet, or he's planning on getting a landline as opposed to a cell phone. Who knows? I don't know this. So anyway, I thought, as a lark, let me try the area code. Let's say it's 321-555-1212. And as soon as I dialed it, disconnects. No message, no nothing, it just disconnects. So in this age, it's not always that you find everything on the WWE email. Not true. And I think there's some people starting to talk about that, which is a guy that I've been thinking a lot about lately. Brings me to Malcolm Gladwell, who's got some really interesting ideas. Not the least of which is he thinks that they ought to get rid of football, college football in particular, which is an interesting idea. So I'll leave it at that for now. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about this concept called SHiLL. And it's very interesting. SHiLL. SHiLL. And I looked, in preparation for this, I looked at 3 different dictionary references. And if not all three, two of them are dripping with negativity. They're dripping with negativity. And I think it's an interesting thing how you look at things. I don't think that SHiLL is necessarily negative. Okay? Now let me read you the least negative of the three definitions I found. SHiLL, as I said, SHiLL. Noun, a decoy who acts as an enthusiastic customer in order to stimulate the participation of others. Verb, act as a shill. The shill bid for the expensive carpet during the auction in order to drive the price up. So, the carpet is expensive in the example. It doesn't mean the carpet is not a good carpet. In fact, it may be one of the best carpets in the world. In fact, it may be, for its price, the single best carpet in the world. So, just because you are a shill or the seller is in search of a shill doesn't mean that anywhere in that continuum there's lack of quality or you are taking advantage of the customer. So now let me give you an extremely tangible example. For today, I'm going to opt not to get into too many particulars, but I am at liberty to say that going into the 2014 season with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, what I know, and I shared in complete transparency, that my system of defense, which you can tangibly track and basically with even remotely the correct environment, which is significantly autonomy, if that kind of an environment is created, if I'm new to the scene, it takes longer to get momentum than if I've been on the scene for a year prior, to kind of get people accustomed to my personality, to me. That's just what I believe is a fact, or it's a fact in my mind at least. That was the case prior to the 2009 and 10 seasons with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I was kind of a fifth wheel on that coaching staff's cart in 2008. Then I was returned to the same role that I'd been in many years earlier, 2000, with one or two key members of that squad left over from that time, not the least of which was Omar Morgan. So the 2009 and 10 results in that environment were seen as wildly successful. And they were. Besides all the normal defense gets diminished in general, and in particular my unconventional, zany, blah, blah, blah defense, which is a lot of bull spit, quite frankly. But anyway, we were seen as successful. Then 2011, the defense leaves. The same person that has followed me now 3 times, who's a great individual, follows me again for 2011. As things are adding up, and I've got a significant, the most profound thing that's happening to me on a personal side of my life is happening, and I'm still trying to gauge myself. So as we near the 2011 season, I decide to step away. And so the 2011 season in every way, shape, and form is a disaster for that team. And very few people, if any, on the planet have been able to make the connection that the moving parts, most of them stayed the same, with one significant exception, and that was the defense. They also made tremendous defensive personnel moves from players that had been very successful, minimally the 2 prior years. So anyway, it was a disaster in 2011. Now that brings us to 2014. So this system of defense now is extricated from the scene for the entireties of the 11, 12, 13 seasons. Now it goes to Winnipeg. In 13, the year before in Winnipeg, it's a disaster. It's a 3-15 season. Easily the worst team in the league, and so forth, just like the team in Saskatchewan was in 2011. So we come in, and I say, okay, here's how it potentially will go. These players, fundamentally, I'm new to them. They don't know me. Unless there's some kind of a greasing the skids, getting them used to me, it won't be uncommon that we'll have a rough patch for that first year, or for the beginning parts, or whatever the case might be. I says, however, there's 4 SHiLLs, and they're all great players, and that we can all get them for less than they're worth. And to make what is already a long story short, I don't think I effectively got them to understand. I failed in communicating what a SHiLL was. And they were lean on resume, lean on experience. It had been significant people's first rodeo. And they opted right from the beginning to not have any one of the 4 SHiLLs. And they felt that their personnel was going to be better than any one of these 4 SHiLLs. And I disagreed. Well, as a result, we had a better season. We went from 3-15 to 7-11. And the 3-15 team came from a much weaker division. That division that year, the Western Division of the Canadian Football League, was the strongest it's been, including Calgary, which went on to win the Grey Cup and had a 15-game winning season. Had they beaten us on what was our last regular season game, or last game of that year, 2014, they would have more than likely had a 16-game winning season, which I don't know that anybody's ever done that. So there was tremendous motivation at their place to beat the lowliest team in the league. Anyway, we didn't go for the SHiLLs. They made a decision to change defenses, and certainly when they make the change, and a lot of the thought leaders, the scribes and Pharisees, as I like to call them, predicted they would be much improved on defense going into last season, the 2015 season. In fact, they got weaker on defense in virtually every measurable category statistically, and yet nobody's mentioned it. This is the first tangible mention on YouTube, I believe, that I'm aware of. So anyway, the idea of a SHiLL is this. We've got a great product. We got a fantastic product. Does that mean the product can't be improved on? Of course you can improve on everything as you move forward. But right now, we are thoroughly convinced we've got a great product. Now we want to sell that product, okay? Would we not take every opportunity to sell it? Of course we would. Of course we would. Okay, so next time, I'm going to tell you a fascinating story where I really learned about a SHiLL or SHiLLs. And it was the first experience of my life. It was way back in 1980, and it was in San Francisco. So it's a fascinating story. Don't let me forget to tell you when that time comes. Next time. T-shirts for mybusiness.com. T-shirts for mybusiness.com. 844-744-7878. That's 1-844. That's toll free. 744-7878. And about, people say subscribe and all that stuff. I guess that's great. That's fantastic. I'll tell you what you could really do. It costs you only a couple of minutes, literally a couple of minutes of time. Go to the www email. I'm not wearing a shirt today. I'll show you next time I wear the shirt. I'll try to wear it almost all the time because it's got a message. It says if you go 3 times daily, it will take you less than 8 minutes on the www email. And it costs you nothing besides those 8 minutes of time. And that is search for 2 things independent. And I think it doesn't even matter what the category is, but all departments is best. Unfortunately, it's not available in Canada, and I think a lot of the viewers may be in Canada, but that's okay. Go to Amazon.com, that's as opposed to .ca, that's the U.S. side, and simply search for one of or both, and both, which would be great. Separate searches. One is T-shirts, spelled with an I on its dot. T-SH, an I on its dot, RT. And the other one is all together. So T-shirts is the logo, and I on its dot is the brand name. So search those terms, those 2 terms on Amazon on a regular basis, and that will help beyond the imagination. Because when people do searches on Amazon, Amazon says, we don't know why they're doing these searches, but there's a lot of people doing these searches, so they start advertising the product because it means organic advertising. I know, but I've been studying Amazon now for going on 7 plus years as a business intimately, and it is, I could tell you story upon story. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of the word SHiLL. SHiLL is always not negative. It's not negative at all. And it would not have been negative in the case of the 2014 Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We could have done much, much better with those 4 SHiLLs. Now I notice they're learning, and they're bringing some SHiLLs in for the coaches in our Wake. Oh, and there's one other thing. Wake reminds me of Cam Wake, the great defensive end for the Minnesota, the Miami Dolphins, who's from the Canadian Football League, who's originally from Penn State. In the wake of the 2014 season, and then now 2015, the CFL season is about to start. It's an exciting time. I think it's a better game than the U.S. game, than the American game, than my game, the one that I was raised on. And I just hope someday they realize what they need to do to improve it so it becomes something real. Outside of Canada, it really isn't taken very seriously. And right now I look at it and I see why that is, but we'll see. So next time, t-shirtsforyourbusiness.com and 844-744-7878. And please search on Amazon at least 3 times daily, both separate searches. T-shirts, spelled with an I on its dot, and I on its dot. Do those searches. You'll help big time. Thanks a lot. Later.